Diastrophism, stress, and strain. So the process of plate tectonics means that all sorts of things are happening to the rocks on the surface of the Earth, as well as below the surface of the Earth. And this section deals with some of those effects. So our definition of diastrophism: any process that changes or deforms Earth's surface. So obviously plate tectonics is going to have an effect, because all of the things that are happening with plate tectonics, whether plates are moving apart, towards each other, or parallel to each other, all involve affecting and deforming Earth's surface. So stress and strain refer to the things that are actually happening. So stress, this is the way force can affect the rock. So here we're looking at what happens to the rock. And this really just depends on the direction of the forces. And of course, that's going to be related to which way do the plates move. So let's look at the different types of stress. So one type of stress is compression. And as you see, it says two forces pushing together. So in our example here, we have our rock between two forces, and the forces are coming together. Well, of course, where forces come together are going to be at subduction and mountain building zones. So both of those plate boundaries are going to exert compression on the rocks at the boundary. Tension, now we have the forces pulling apart. So we have our rock being pulled in two opposite directions. Well, that is going to be associated with a rift zone, where the two plates pull apart. Shear is where our forces are on opposite sides and opposite directions. So as you can see here, you've got one force going in one direction, one going in the other, but the forces are parallel. Well, the place where we have parallel forces going in opposite directions, of course, is a fault zone. So each type of stress is going to be associated with a different plate boundary. Strain is how the rocks react to the stress. You are applying these forces on the rock, but what actually happens to the rock itself? Well, that's going to depend upon not only how strong are the forces, but also the rock strength. And that's also going to be related to the temperature of the rock. So let's look at the types of strain. So elastic is just like if you think of, elastic waistband or something, it's going to bounce back. So the rock is bent, but it goes back to its original shape. So this is typically going to be associated with a small force. Plastic is where, as you see, it stays bent. So just like bending a plastic toy that's bendable, it bends and it stays that way. This is usually going to be associated with hot temperatures, because at hot temperatures rocks act like a plastic. That's like at the asthenosphere. And so that plastic consistency allows the rocks to remain bent. Fracture, now we are breaking it. So here we are dealing with typically rocks that are cooler or larger forces. So all of this falls under the umbrella of diastrophism. These forces are acting on the rocks are reacting to those forces, and it is all changing the surface of the Earth.